Hello, this is Tarregor. Welcome to my video on World of Warcraft Classic Plus. This video is a Twitch stream that was not edited, so it's going to look like a Twitch stream. Well, this design direction of my vision of Classic Plus is substantially different from that of Retail WoW, Circus Shadowlands, the design direction, and the private servers, Vanilla Plus and Turtle WoW, so also different than those. This is partially because this vision of Classic Plus of mine aims to fix Vanilla WoW's many problems first, flesh out polish what's already there second, and add new content third. This is part of a playlist of videos. Check this video's description for a link to the playlist. The document displays my vision of WoW Classic Plus, and the document's version number is version 1.5.15. All versions of the document are based upon patch 1.12.2 of World of Warcraft. If you just want to know about the general design direction of my vision of WoW Classic Plus before you otherwise look into this, then watch the introduction video in this playlist, or review the document yourself, and look at the list I need water. Of major features. The link to the document is on my channel's About page. That and I did not have a team of people, or however, working with me to make an actual private server out of this. This is all pure design as far, and it ain't done yet. First off, some words about races. I did not add Jedi because they contradict lore that was already established before the Burning Crusade came out. And I did not add Blood Elves because I wanted to give the Alliance a race instead. Because I want to give the Alliance High Elves and the Horde Ogres, so where would Blood Elves fit? And then I have to pick a fourth race as long as I have Blood Elves anyway, and I don't want Blood Elves to join the Horde. They're remaining neutral in this game. I want the lore in this game to all be completely consistent, and there's going to have to be more retconning than I've already done in order to make all what's already there circa vanilla be consistent. For example, I had to define what the Earth Mother actually is and make the lore in the Earth Mother related scrolls and Thunderbluffs, Elder Rise be retconned out of the game in part. However, that part I haven't actually put in the document yet. I'll get to that later. I did, however, put it in a document for a different game for a fan game I'm working on, but I'll get to that in a different video. If at all. So, the race agenda. I want to make resistance racial suck less. I generally want to make resistance racial suck less. Nerf Forsaken and Orcs for PvP. Make humans and gnomes be less bad for PvP faction mounts. Make Troll Region not be garbage. We got to write this part in the agenda. The agenda is an afterthought. Well, excuse me. Writing the agenda is an afterthought. Anyway, add ogres to the Horde and High Elves to the Alliance. And I want to enable every class to use weapon titles that are racially specialized into, even if they could not want it before, though with some exceptions. For example, Warlocks are not going to get to use two-handed axes if they're orcs. Anyway, first off, Dwarf changes. Dwarves will get a 15 blacksmithing racial, and Dwarves will get a 15 mining racial. Their bonus to ferocity resistance will be doubled from 10 to 20. A design note, I cannot thematically make passive racial resistance bonuses for any race scale with your character level, not even partially. Dwarves will also get plus 10% to their alcohol tolerance. More on that in the eventual video on the new alcohol system. Basically, if you drink too much, you'll pass out. If you drink even more before passing out, you'll go into a coma. And if you drink even more before passing out, you'll fucking die. And your alcohol tolerance is based on your stamina. And of course, racials can increase it. Anyway, Forsaken changes. Will the Forsaken will no longer be a non-eats effect because it's really fucking overpowered. It'll instead be a passive that grants 5% charm, fear, and sleep resistances. Design note, don't forget about heartbeat resists. Their bonus and shadow resistance will be doubled. Gnomes. Double arcane resistance. Instant cast escape artist. And minus 5% alcohol tolerance. High Elves. After the background lore I've written, after Warcraft 2, the High Elves, whose ancestors were the Highborn, were called back to kill the lost, but some of the recent mages decided to stay behind the lore on to help the humans out. Up to here, this part actually happened in the official lore, circa Vanilla WoW, that is. Circa 2004, that is. About a month later, their retcon to have had a baby boom, which involved the casting of arcane spells that made them have twins and more by cloning the embryos in their wombs. In the over 18 years since then, most of their children have survived the events of Warcraft 3 by being kept in safe places at the time, and hidden places at the time, and the alliances formed and included the High Elves. However, when the Sun was corrupted and then destroyed during Warcraft 3, the High Elves that fled Lord of Mass Destruction, who were remotely bathing in the energy of the Sun at all times, despite having left Chaos and loss, were suddenly weakened and in low spirits and have been that way ever since. And when ill had been passed on the knowledge of society and mana from other life forms that caught wind of it, they are appalled and rejected its teaching and inspired a desperation for magic. Regardless of their crippling temporal withdrawal, the High Elves of the Alliance are still formidable people, though they've no cities of their own since the new generation that replaced their numbers had only just reached adulthood at the time of WoW Classic Plus. So for now, they may only reside in Elven Forest, and yet have other various dwellings, such as in the Hinterlands and the Eastern Plaguelands. High Elves shall use the exact same models and animations that Blood Elves did in the Burning Crusade, except their eyes will not glow. So, if I recall correctly, Blood Elf eyes glowed green because of their exposure to Fel energies from their usage of Mana Tap on Fel crystals around Eversong Woods in the Burning Crusade. But yeah, High Elves, however, have no such ability to siphon mana because they, well, really don't want to use it. And they decide not to learn it. So, these are an alliance race, as I already mentioned. Their languages will be Common and Thalassian. Their star zone will be Elven Forest. Their mount will be a horse because it's an Elven Forest, and it's not like it's any Hawksride south of Kel'Thuzad anyway. Their only classes shall be Paladin, Hunter, Mage, and Priest. No Warriors, just like Blood Elves, and there's 2 highbrow to be Rogues. Their racial-based stat modifiers. Do note that in actual vanilla, in 2004, every race got facial stat modifiers. It counted up to, I forgot, so I'm going to have to count this. 2, 3, 2, 4, 5, 6. How am I not doing that correctly? -2, +5, -1, +3, -5. Okay, it all counted up to 0. Oh, that's embarrassing. So their racial abilities. Arcane Acuity. All their crit chances are increased by 5%. Arcane Affinity. Enchanting skill increased by 15. Despondent. Spirit decreased by 5%. Prodigy to Highborn. Increases all resistance by 3 times your character level for 20 seconds. 2-minute cooldown, instant cast, 5% base mana, arcane lockout. And school. Weakened. All direct non-holy damage and direct healing is reduced by 5%. And Zyno, dots, and channeled spells cannot crit. On a related note, many Alliance NPCs who have no lore behind them, including many vendors and creepers and various other NPCs, I don't want to say many because that's not how many I'm replacing. But anyway, some of them will be replaced with files to do the same things as the NPCs that they'll be replacing. Human changes. Perception will be a passive, but only grant you 1 character level worth of stealth detection instead of giving 10 character levels worth of stealth detection for 20 seconds on a 3-minute cooldown. Now that the spy add-on will not be allowed to exist, more on that in a later video, the on-use version of Perception would be hot garbage outside of duels, and duels are a pretty small part of PvP, so I turned it into something else that's useful in basically all aspects of PvP. Humans get a new racial. Final Struggle. An instant cast racial on a 2-minute cooldown. Grants immunity to Charm, Fear, Incapacitation, Root, Sleep, Slow, and Stun effects for 5 seconds, but can only be used at low health. That is 20% or less health, which is execute range. So, unlike Graphic Lich King's Every Man for Himself, you can usually just kill the guy if you don't like him breaking your crowd control since he's almost dead anyway. This will have Last Stand's icon. This does not invoke or share a cooldown with any other ability or item, including even Insignia of the Alliance. Like Old Will of the Forsaken, this will also dispel any of those effects that are on you, and it can be used while afflicting those detrimental effects. Debuffs. This will not dispel or grant immunity to plot debuffs, however, such as the Plot Sleep casted by High Inquisitor Whitemane. Night Elf changes. Double Rage Resist, 10 to 20, and Quickness will give you 5% agility instead of 1% dodge chance. Ogres. The Somo Ogres were members of the Horde since Warcraft 3, The Frozen Throne, and now you'll actually get to play as them, but you won't get to be green. And yes, there will be female ogres, and they ain't gonna be pretty. When Stonewall Village was destroyed by the Black Dragonflight, the Stonewall Ogres were retconned to afflict Camp Tarregor before there were more than a few casualties because Mok Marak said so, but Camp Tarregor told them to head over to Mulgore since it didn't have room for him there, and Mulgore is much safer. So the Stonewall Ogres are temporarily resettling in Mulgore until they can reclaim Stonewall Village, and the Black Dragonflight will not be kicked out of their property during WoW Classic Plus, though you'll still have the same quest to do there. Their proper being Stonewall Village. There, rather. Anyway, Makwarok himself moved to Thunderbluff, where the guards will not help you fight him during the quest to kill him. Well, to make them go away. And an ogre settlement will be added to Mulgore to the east of Bloodhoof Village and the west of the Adventure Cove Mine, which will, like a flight path, and offer some quests that were offered in Brackenwall Village. The rest are offered near the Baronsla's Justwall border and a new encampment. And Brackenwall Village itself no longer exists because the ogres never built it. The Swallow itself shall still be contested territory, however. The Tauren did not appreciate some things about the ogres, and they have only agreed to let them occupy their lands until they reclaim their village, though they do like the ogre's ancestral connection to elemental earth. Ogre warriors will start out with a two-handed mace, and ogre shamans will start with a one-handed mace and shield, owing to the name of their clan, the Stonewall Clan. So, a horde race, like I already said. Their languages shall be Orcish and quotation mark ogre quotation mark, just like how trolls could speak quotation mark troll quotation mark. Circa Vanilla. Their star zone, Mulgore, of course. Be prepared to level in Silverpine, by the way. Their mounts, a Kodo Beast. Their starter Mulgore, and what else could support their weight anyway? They're fucking ogres. Classes, Warrior, Shaman, Mage, Warlock. Racial-based stat modifiers. +5 Strength, -5 Agil, +5 Stam, -5 Int, +0 Spirit. Racial abilities. Backhand. Backhand's an enemy, knocking it down for 2 seconds. 3-minute cooldown, instant cast, melee range, secondary stun diminishing returns. Clumsy. Agility decreased by 5%. Dumb. Decreases your intellect by 5%, but increases your fear resistance by 5%. Warrior and Shaman only. Want to point this out here. Warrior. If you pick Warrior or Shaman, you'll be a one-headed ogre. If you pick Mage or Warlock, you'll be a two-headed ogre. So anyway, Endurance. Total health and alcohol tolerance increased by 5%. The same one Taurens get, except both icons will be changed to be something else. Strong. +5% strength. 2 heads. Fear resistance increased by 5%. 2 ogres are tougher to scare than 1. Major Warlock only. Design note, they would be overpowered anyways if they had Mace Spec, and while I suppose I could give them Mace Spec anyway along with 5% crit penalty, that probably would not be very fun in practice. That, and if I gave him -5 to all weapon skills except maces instead, then I'd be thematically obliged to also give him -5 to your defense and profession skills, and that would be even worse. Also designed out, given the mace proficiency would mean that Ogre Enhanced Enchantments would save on a talent point. I don't want that. And Damage Warriors might be Tauren instead of Ogres because War Stomp is an AoE and has a shorter cooldown. It's not likely to be Tauren or Forsaken if they only cared about rating anyway. Hey, wait a second, why did I write that? For PvP. For PvP, I meant. Yeah. Okay, that's why I wrote that. Ogre Shamans get exclusive access to the new quest. I wrote this stuff a long time ago, by the way. Anyway, Ogre Shamans get exclusive access to the new quest. Call of Earth Part 4, which is available at level 4 and rewards them with a permanent 20% mana cost reduction for all their Earth spells. Specifically, shit like Earth Shock, Earthbind Totem, Stoneclaw Totem, Stoneskin Totem, etc. Owing to their ancestral attunement to the Earth. Ogres will not be able to ride non-special mounts that are not Code Beasts, like Tauren, because other non-special mounts simply cannot support their weight. On a related note, like for High Elves and Alliance NPCs, many Horde NPCs with no lore behind them, including Vendors and Keepers and various other NPCs, will be replaced with Stonewall Ogres who do the same things as the non-player characters that they will be replacing. Orc changes. The attack resistance for hardiness will be reduced from 25% to 15%. Furthermore, Blood Fury is buff, but not its debuff, will cancel the rage effects, and thus be able to be tranked off. Tauren Tranquilizing Shot it off. Tauren changes. Tauren will not be able to ride non-special mounts that are not Code Beasts because other non-special mounts simply cannot support their weight. So, of course, the Baron Ravendare mount, that counts as a special mount. Zillium Tiger, that counts as a special mount. You know what the other special mounts are, probably. Tauren get their nature resistance doubled, and well, their inherent nature resistance is doubled, and endurance will also increase alcohol tolerance by 5%. Troll changes. The regeneration ratio will have its description and function change as follows. Quotation mark. Restores 1/300 of your maximum hit points every 2 seconds. Unless you're on fire. End quotation mark. So it will restore a minimum of 1 health per 2 seconds, acting as old health for 5, but it will skip the text during which you have the dot on you to deal fire damage, or you're standing in persistent AoE fire damage, such as the fire damage AoE left behind by Flame Strike after it goes off, or bonfire, or being submerged or partially submerged within lava. The bit about fire is mandated by the in-game book Arathor in the Troll Wars circa Vanilla WoW, that is 2004. This will give regeneration enough of a buff to not be negligible like it was in vanilla. That's 5% of your maximum health healed every 30 seconds. So next up, Berserking will count as an range effect because thematics, and so it'll be dispellable by Tranquilizing Shot. And finally, other race changes. Human priests will get to use one-handed swords at character creation because they have sword spec. Human mages will get to use one-handed maces at character creation because they have mace spec. Human warlocks will get to use one-handed maces at character creation because they have mace spec. Orc rogue will get to use one-handed axes at character creation because they have axe spec. By the way, I did make an axe spec talent for rogues, but only orcs can get it. It actually has an orc racial prerequisite. Orc warlocks will get one-handed axes at character creation because they have axe spec. Not that I'd care about it. Troll hunters will get throwing weapon proficiency at character creation because they have throwing weapon specialization. Not that they don't care about it. Classes that have a racial specialization of a weapon dedicated otherwise learn to use it, a weapon master will automatically have the relevant weapon proficiencies at character creation. But classes that have a racial specialization of a weapon dedicated otherwise learn to use it, a weapon master will automatically that's a copy paste error. So yeah, will automatically have the relevant weapons equipped to character creation instead of what they otherwise have equipped to character creation. This means that Dwarven warriors and rogues will start with a gun, a small ammo pouch, and bullets instead of nothing or a throwing weapon, and that troll warriors and rogues will start with a throwing weapon as they had before. By nothing I mean in a ranged weapon slot. On a non-related note, all applicable race/class combinations will, at character creation, have your activatable racial abilities on hotbar number 1 so that new players are more likely to be aware of their existence, in order to very slightly increase the retention of new players. And that's all I got for race changes. Thanks for watching.